Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining the Brain 202, Gardening and Evolving Your Brain. My name is Matt Caton, and we've got a really great webinar for you today. We're assuming that everyone today is familiar with the brain. Maybe you've taken a brain, hopefully you've taken a Brain 101 class in the past, and you're ready to sort of start cleaning up a brain that's become cumbersome in certain areas, or you're looking for some more advanced features of the application, then this webinar is for you. Today, we're going to take that to the next level. You can see I've got a brain open on my screen right now that I'm going to start the cleanup process on. I'm on a thought called personal life, and everything below this particular thought are my personal interests. Now, this is not my real brain. I'll disclose that information now. If you happen to see some, general content in the note or something like that, this is a sample brain that I actually, created all these thoughts under on purpose, just so that we can go through the process of cleaning it up. Of course, everything that you see here on the screen is related to me in some way. It's things that I like: music, my personal investments, my medical information, vacation information, family and friends, and so forth. But it's become a little bit tricky to navigate and find the information that I'm looking for. So that's where we're going to start today, is cleaning up areas of your brain that need what we like to call a little bit of gardening, just to straighten things up as I move forward. I might find content I don't need anymore and delete that, or just make it faster and easier to get to different areas of the brain. Now, before I create my first thought to start rearranging some content here, I'll also disclose that I'm demoing today in the Brain 12. The Brain 12 is available on our website. It's a public beta. If you're not comfortable with beta software, you can go ahead and stay on the Brain 11. That's our release version. The Brain 12 has some great new features. You can have both installed on the same machine. So go ahead and install 12 to kick the tires and see how it works. Anything that you create or edit or modify in the Brain 12 can still be opened in the Brain 11. There's no import or export. They're forwards and backwards compatible, those two specific versions. So you might see something new and exciting that you want to ask me about in the Brain 12. And again, present that question to Chase, and I'll be happy to demo those features for you. So let's go ahead and start cleaning things up. And my first example is, let's say I need to start researching on an upcoming vacation. I'm going to take my dream vacation with my family to Hawaii. So that falls under my personal life area, not my work area. So Hawaii, I go in under the H's. I'm not seeing it there. Maybe it's under vacations, vets, Vince. No, it's not there. Tropical vacations, that's probably where I put it. And there it is. There's my Hawaii thought. So, I just have to click around a little bit before I find that information, or I'm relying heavily on the search that's built into the brain to find this content. Let's go ahead and start cleaning things up. And I'll use that vacation example first. I'm going to create a new thought specifically for travel, not necessarily vacation, but travel. So I created my new travel thought. There it is. And now anything related to travel, I want to bring underneath this thought. So I'm creating an intervening thought. And if I scroll down to, this is quite the long list. There it is, tropical vacations. I can click and drag that under. I also just happened to notice something that caught my eye. Upcoming trip plans and urban travel. Those both fall under travel as well. Now, I may see something else as I'm navigating through my brain. I can come back and clean that up later. Let's create one more area under personal life. So I haven't made much of a dent quite yet. I'll create another area for family and friends. Those are really jumping out at me, all these different names that I see. So business relationships, customers or clients and things like that, that falls under my work area. This particular area they are my coworkers, because my coworkers are my business family, and they're actually my friends, luckily, as well. So I've got them in this particular area. They might fall under both. But let's just start with this family and friends thought. And once again, as soon as I see a thought, I can click and drag it. So I'm dragging from the sibling thought position. They both, right now, family and friends and Brendan, for example, are both child thoughts of personal life. But if I click and drag him down below the current active thought, it simply relinks that thought. So now I can really start getting busy. There's Chase, here's Dave and Molly, my good friend Dr. J, August. This is really going to clean things up pretty quickly. So I'm just looking for, there's Grandpa Marty, all the friends, family, and names that I have: Jason, Lisa, Laura, and Max. And there's Mom and Dad. So there's probably a few more in there. We'll get back to those later, but very quickly, now you can see I'm starting to make a dent. I've only got 4 columns right now in this area of my brain, so things are getting cleaned up pretty quickly. So I've got another feature though to share with you. Click and drag is a great way to relink thoughts. You know, I can also go to a thought. Here's Vince. He should be linked to family and friends. So notice I can click and drag from Vince to family and friends. And when I do that without using any keystrokes, it keeps the original link and creates this new link over to family and friends. And it's a 2-step process. I now just need to right click and unlink a thought from personal life to Vince so that Vince specifically falls under family and friends. But there's a really nice shortcut for that. I'm going to go back and find another person. Here's Tom. Tom belongs under family and friends. I'm going to click and drag. Now I can click and drag and hover over the thought, or I can also start typing in. If I don't happen to notice that family and friends is visible on the screen, I'll just simply start typing it in, and any thought that matches whatever I'm typing in shows up in that existing thought list. But rather than just double click, I'm going to hold down the shift key and double click. So this is the shortcut. And we call this, the technical explanation for this feature is the, the name escaped me, I had it on the tip of my tongue. Exclusive, it's the exclusive thought link. So by holding down shift and double clicking on family and friends, I have removed any other parent thoughts that Tom had, and Tom exclusively falls under the family and friends thought. So the shift when you're dragging to a new parent is a really, really great little shortcut to remove all other parents that thought has, even if it has multiple parents, and only link the one new parent that you're linking to. Think of that feature in terms of if you are reorganizing steps of a process and you've got all this paperwork in your brain, documents, digital paperwork, of course, and they're moving from phase 1 into phase 2. By using that shift key and linking a particular document or a thought to phase 2, you'll remove phase 1 from being linked. So there's many different applications of that shift feature. Here's another feature that I want to share with you. I'm going to create an area called my hobbies. A lot of what you're looking at down below are specifically hobbies of mine. So I create my new hobbies thought, and I'm going to start selecting all, rather than drag and drop individually. I want to look at all of the thoughts on the screen at one time. So I give this a little bit of additional screen real estate so I can really focus on my thoughts. And I'm simply going to start control clicking on all of my different hobbies to add them into the selection box. We're going to use this feature a lot today. So it's control click with the Windows machine, and it would be a command click on a Mac. Now you can control click on individual thoughts. So hobbies, arts and culture, I'll control and click. Bowling is a hobby, control click. Insurance, no. House repairs, home renovations. Gardening, control click. Music, control click. So individual thoughts, I add them in. If I accidentally click on medical, I don't think medical information, personal medical information is a hobby of mine. Maybe I'll create a health and fitness area of my brain where that will get attached. So it doesn't go there, so I can control click on an individual thought that gets that little highlight around that. We actually call these the marching ants. When you see those little lines dancing around a particular selected thought, those are the marching ants. I can also control click up here in the selection box. So the selection box only opens when you've control clicked on a thought. I can make it go away with the little X if I need to start over. I can control click on a gate to select all thoughts connected to that gate. We'll certainly be using that feature again in the future. And I can also control click and drag. So if I've got a whole column, everything lines up of the thoughts that I'm looking for, I can control click and select all the thoughts in that column or in a particular area that's being visualized within my brain. So a lot of different ways to use that control click or once again, command click on a Mac. So let's start from scratch once again. All of my hobbies, I'm gonna control click really quickly now. Bowling, music, woodworking, there we go. Technology, sports, snorkeling and diving. And that is a really great start to add to my hobbies thought. Now, I could right click and unlink these from the thought that's the current active thought. That's not my process. It will work and they'll be unlinked, but as soon as they're unlinked, it's kind of like they don't have a home within the brain. And if some of them don't have any child thoughts, then that's what we call an orphan thought. It's just sort of floating out there in the plex. The only way to get there, to find that thought, since it's not connected to anything, would be to do a search. So I don't want to unlink yet. That's going to be my step 2. First, I'm going to activate hobbies, and I'm going to right click in my selection box area. You can see all these different options. A lot of them we're covering today. And I am going to link them as children of hobbies. So all of these thoughts are linked as child thoughts of hobbies. I can then go back to personal life. Before I close this selection box, right click and unlink those thoughts. Now, if I were to unlink them first and then get sidetracked, someone gives me a call, I've got a client meeting that I need to step into, I need to jump into another brain, I need to close the brain application, I would end up closing that selection box, and now my thoughts are drifting. I can, of course, still find them by running reports or doing a search, but it's really just a great habit to get into if you're rearranging your brain this way and doing some gardening. Connect those thoughts first, and then come back and unlink them from their designated area. So next is all of my health and fitness. So once again, I'm going to create that health and fitness thought, and I'm going to use the control click again. So fitness plan. I'll save that for finances, fitness goals. So all of my food items, retirement planning is going to go in there, recipes, investments, medical, upcoming expenses and bills, and insurance. Let's see, that's healthy living, healthy eating. That's going to go in there. And don't I have some recipes? Let's see. I think I've already selected those. Yeah. So those individual thoughts are all going to go under health and fitness. So once again, I activate the thought first, right click and make these child thoughts. Go back to personal life, right click and unlink from personal life. So things are getting cleaned up really quick. My very last one looks like one more category for pets. And I needed another area for home renovations and housework. So I'll just say house. I'm using the semicolon here. Hopefully you know about the semicolon. It's a really great way to quickly generate multiple thoughts. So I'm going to create a thought for pets and house, separate them with the semicolon, just hit enter. So I create those two thoughts. And now really quickly, let's just do our final cleanup. Home renovations, there we go. Banking, that should go under finance, but maybe, no, I'll just put it under house for now. What I'm reading, that should be I think we're good there. And I'm gonna go under pets. My pet sitter, cute photos of my animals. animal adoptions, and I see a few stragglers here. Oh, my vets definitely needs to go there. And then finally, what I'm reading now, that needs to go under hobbies. So under hobbies, scroll down to what I'm reading now. And I've got a few more family and friends that I need to organize. This airline rewards goes under travel. So I'll shift click. So I'm using a combination of these different features. And there's Candace and Russ. They go under family and friends, shift and enter. And restaurants goes under health and fitness. All my food stuff is there. So look at that. We've really, in the past, gosh, I think it's maybe only been 10 minutes. I went from, and I want to show you specifically what my brain looked like before. I took a screenshot. Sorry, it opened on another monitor. Here's the screenshot of what we started with today, and here's what we have now. So in just a matter of 10 or 15 minutes, I've really cleaned things up very quickly. Again, earlier, I think I was looking for my Hawaiian vacation plans. I'm gonna go under travel. You know, I don't have too many places to search. It's not urban travel, that's sort of city hopping, a little bit for business and a little bit with the family, but tropical vacation ideas, Hawaii, so it shows up there. So I can get to that thought and that content really quickly. Let's talk now about sprucing this area of my brain up a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about are thought icons. You noticed earlier, a lot of my thoughts have these little icons. You know, sometimes icons are really helpful in identifying the content or the nature of a thought. It doesn't just make the brain cute and fun to look at, it actually can provide you with a quick visual reference of that type of content. So family and friends under personal life, that's really important to me. So I'm gonna actually, let's make this brain a little bit bigger. Rather than just having a group of thought names down below, family and friends, again, very important to me. I'm gonna alt click and open up the thought properties display. Alt clicking on any thought in the brain will open your thought properties display, and there's a little square box to the left where you can add an icon. Now, sometimes you're dragging and dropping Word documents or PDFs or web pages, and those will automatically generate an icon for you. But here it's just a thought, it's a placeholder that all my family and friends are connected to, but I wanna make it stand out in my personal life. So I'm gonna click and select the stock icon. The brain has 2,000 stock icons, over 2,000 stock icons for you to choose from. So let's say I want to, notice I was searching recently for, I typed in WA, I was actually looking for a watch icon. But I'm gonna click on browse. These are all the different categories we have. And I'm just gonna go down to people and family and friends. I can just select a person icon if I'd like. Just grab something random. And notice it just gives it a nice little icon, a nice little visual identifier. So family and friends, I've got the little person, something, oh, and there's Spencer, he goes under, and Shelly. So I'm gonna shift right click, or shift click and drag from the parent gate to connect those thoughts, clean things up even more. Travel, something completely different. I'm gonna alt click and just really quickly find a picture of, I'll search for a plane. And there we go. So something completely different, or I could do a globe or what have you. Just a nice little icon to visually reference the different categories and areas I have. I'll be getting into that in just a moment as well to add some more icons in different areas and show you the value. Let's actually do that now. I'm gonna jump over into my friends area, and I wanna now share another way that you can organize and start cleaning up large groups of thoughts. Here's the perfect example. You know, I've got a lot of different families and friends, and I've got different relationships with many of these people. Some are my family, some are just close friends, some are neighbors, some are coworkers. So I want to be able to identify those quickly and easily. So if, as my friend group grows here in this area of my brain, I can very, very quickly find a coworker as opposed to a relative, or a neighbor as opposed to, you know, one of the thoughts for my kids and so forth. So I'm going to do this, clean up this area, instead of creating sort of an intervening thought. So under family and friends, going into coworkers, going into neighbors, going into, college friends and so forth, I'm going to actually clean this up with thought types, use a different process for organizing these thoughts. So I have a thought type for coworker, and here's a list of all the available thought types that I have. We'll create a new one so you can see how easy that is. And there's my coworker thought type, and some of these folks down below are actual coworkers. So let's start with Harlan, for example. I'm gonna alt-click on Harlan, and I'll go into the, not thought tags, thought types, and assign him with the coworker thought type. So I've got a little icon for coworkers, it shows up with green text, and I can very easily now identify someone that is a coworker. Here's another, Shelly. I'll right click and set thought type to coworker. So you can open up the thought properties display, and you can also get there from the context menu by right clicking on a thought. Another thing that I can do is add them to the selection box. So now I'm going to go in and grab my family thoughts. So I'll start alt clicking once again. Alt click on, I control clicked. There we go. Or excuse me, I alt clicked and I need to control click. So control click on August and Brian, some of my in-laws. There's Grandpa Marty, my mom and dad, Laura, Lisa, Max, and Spencer. I think I've got everyone there. These are all family members, whether it's an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, or direct family, and I want to give them all the family thought type. So I can right click and assign a thought type to all of these thoughts at one time. Now notice family doesn't exist yet. So I want to create a new thought type called family. And I'm doing that right from right clicking in the selection box. I hit enter, and all of these thoughts have been assigned the family thought type. Now, the family thought type, as of right now, I'm going to close this and go back to my friends and family. Family thought type doesn't have a cute icon. It doesn't have a color code. So it's a little bit hard to identify. I could hover over and I could see that these people are family thought types, but I want to actually edit the family thought type look and feel throughout my brain. So I go to the family thought type, and once again, I alt click or click to open up the thought properties display and select the stock icon here. Maybe I just want a heart. So that's for my family, and I'll click again, open this back up, color code the thought. So all family thought types will appear with dark red text on a light red background. Let's see how that looks. So easily identifiable. I know which people are coworkers, which people are family. And then the final category are my friends. And so I want to create a new thought type for friends. Oops. Oh, let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to create the thought called friend. Now, oops, I made a mistake. I created a thought called friend rather than a thought type. That's not a problem. I can right click on the thought and convert this to a type or tag. So this is really, really great if you have gone through your brain and created all these intervening thought levels to group together all thoughts of a particular type. And now you're just learning, oh, wait, I could use thought types for this particular feature. You can convert a thought from what we call a native thought into a thought type or a thought tag. So I'm going to convert this to a thought type and say, okay. Notice it has the little round edges rather than it being squared off. I don't want this a child thought of family and friends. So I right click and unlink. So friends is its very own thought type now. And I can click to modify. So we'll select a stock icon. We'll go for a person and just grab a random person here. And I want it to stand out with maybe a light yellow background. And once again, I'll go over to all of my family and friends and control click on Brendan, Dr. J, Jason, Russ, Tom, and Vince. Now notice another great feature of using thought types is that my brain is grouping all the similar types together. I'll share where that setting can be turned on and off in just a moment. But I've selected my individual friends from this group, and now I can right click over in the selection box and set the thought type for all of these people to be friends. And I've got two folks left, Brigitte and Jay, and these are colleagues of mine as well. So I'm going to right click and set the thought type to coworker, and Chase as well, set the thought type to a coworker. So there we go. I've further clarified my specific, in this case, my specific relationship with these individual people. It's going to be easier to find people in the future as my brain grows and evolves. I can run reports, show me all of my friend thoughts that have a document attached, or show me all of my family thoughts that have been modified within the past year if I'm working on holiday cards or something like that. We'll get to reports in just a moment. But also just that nice, easy visual when I come into this area of the brain to identify specifically what each person is or means to me. Now, I mentioned earlier that I'm grouping all similar thought types. If I right click in the background, you can change how your brain displays groups of thoughts, whether you want them by date activated or modified, descending, oldest first, and so forth. If I switch this to alphabetically, you can see it kind of mixes things up a little, starts with A down to Z, but it still displays, again, that relationship, that thought type for me. So I like to group all of my thoughts together by thought type, and that's just found by right-clicking on the background to rearrange those thought types and the structure of the brain that you're viewing. So the next thing I want to do is talk a little bit more about icons before we start talking about thought tags. Now I'm just going to select, I'll select Harlan, for example. First, also let me share with you, when you turn on a thought type, it is automatically displayed in the Plex. That's a new feature, I think specifically in TheBrain 12. If I right click, I can unlink. I don't need to see that Harlan falls under coworker. I only want to see it when I'm here under friends and family, the thought type, but I'm on the thought. I don't need the thought type being displayed as a thought in the Plex. So if you notice, I just right clicked here. I'll do the same for family. I just right click on a thought type with that circular border, and I can say that it's not visible when it's the parent of the active thought. And that's a universal setting. I go to any other family member and I don't see that thought type being displayed structurally in the Plex. Let's go back to Harlan, and now by default, a thought, if it's given a type, it's going to show you the icon for that thought type. But you can override that setting by applying a custom icon to a thought. So for Harlan, I'm going to alt-click to open up the thought properties and pick a unique icon for Harlan. So I can select a stock icon. Harlan is a super cool guy, so I give him a super cool icon. And notice his icon is just a little bit unique. So if I do want him to stand out in a group of coworkers that I work with, I can do that. I can also select an icon from the web. A lot of times people ask me about my zoomable icons in the brains that I keep. It's a little bit more of an advanced feature, so this is a great time to share how this feature works. I am actually going to open up a web browser, and let's just go to do a search for Harlan and find an image. So there's Harlan, a fearless leader at TheBrain Technologies. I'm just simply going to right click and copy that image onto my clipboard. And now when I go into TheBrain and click on that icon, notice I've got some new options available. Now I can select to capture an image. So if I have that open in the background, sort of like snag it, I can click and drag. I've copied that image onto my clipboard. So now I can simply paste the icon. So he gets his own customizable icon right there in the brain. And you can see it zooms in and out. I use that feature a lot for how-to thoughts within my brain, or if I just need to know what a part looks like, a carburetor or a bike part that I'm working on, I'll take screenshots or find an image online for that nice zoomable icon so I can just hover over a thought to get the full size image of that graphic for that thought. Let's go ahead now and start talking about thought tags. The difference between thought types and tags are specifically, and first and foremost, you can only have one thought type for a thought. So Laura is my wife. Laura is a family member, obviously, and so that thought type is probably never going to change to coworker or customer or friend. Laura's family, and it's going to stay a family thought type. Now, of course, I can right click. Let's say Brendan marries my sister. He's my brother-in-law now. I can right click and I can change a thought type. So it's not set in stone. I can always go in and modify a thought type. Thought tags, the key difference is that you can apply multiple tags to a thought. So I typically think of thought tags as being attributes of a specific thought. And attributes are changing. Sometimes a thought is urgent. Let's say it's my anniversary coming up and I need to do a little bit of anniversary gift shopping. So that's an urgent action item that needs to take place. I think I have. If I don't, I'll create it. No, I do not have an urgent thought tag. So I'm going to go ahead and create that. So I'm going to say urgent is my new thought tag. Nothing is tagged as urgent yet. But if my anniversary is coming up, I'm going to right click on the Laura thought and select to apply the tag of urgent. So that's an urgent action item that needs to get taken care of. What is the action item specifically? Well, I'd have that information obviously in the notes. Need to get a gift by Friday. So the action item that needs to take place, I'll have that outlined all over in my note. But then there are other urgent action items within this brain. Let's say my pet, my dog's vet just recently moved. Again, this is a sample brain, so it's not flushed out with a lot of content, but I need to find a new vet that I know and trust. That is an urgent action item. So I'm going to right click and change the thought tag to urgent. I love my dogs, so this is going to be a high cost, spare no expense type of item. So I'm going to mark that as high cost. In other words, I don't care if they charge a little bit more than the other guy. My pets are my family, so I want to make sure that we have the best vet available. So that's a high cost item. And let's choose one more. I'm going to go over into hobbies and technology. Let's say I'm shopping around for a new computer, so I'm going to right click and also I can click to open up the thought properties display, let's not forget, and make this let's say I'm looking for an economical, this is a low cost urgent item that needs to take place. So now I have peppered my brain with these different thought tags. The advantage is I can do a quick search for all of my urgent action items. There they are. And I can quickly find and see all items within my brain that are urgent action items. Thoughts that would no longer or not usually be connected to one another. What does Laura or my dog have to do with the new computer that I'm buying? Not much, but what do they share in common? They're both urgent action items that need to happen. So I've got them with the urgent tag. And also, just like you can with thought types, you can clarify, I want all of my urgent action items to have a stock icon. I'm going to look for a target. Perfect. So now you can see all of my urgent action items as I'm just clicking and navigating around through the brain. Let's say I wander over into the technology area. I need to look up one of my passwords. I'll be visually reminded, ooh, I've got an urgent action item here under computers. I'm still looking for that low cost economical laptop that I'm going to take on an upcoming business trip. So nice little visual identity of providing those custom icons, and it's really just beneficial to have the ability to add multiple thought tags to an individual thought. I would never want computers to be the urgent thought type. I'm going to have a lot of new data here underneath computers. It's just buying this new computer is an action item that's urgent. So I use that tag feature. And there's so many different ways that you can utilize thought types and thought tags. These are a couple of examples just to get your creative juices flowing on how you can, what the types of tags and types that you can create in your own brain. Another option that I want to now share with you is start talking about multiple brains. So far, everything you've seen me do today is in this one brain that I've been using. But let's say I've got a particular area of this brain that I want to sort of branch off and create a whole new brain. Let's say it's specifically my hobbies. I want to create a hobby brain and not have it here. This is all going to be about finance and pet, health and fitness, my family, and all my business stuff. But just hobbies, so sports and music and gardening, that's all going to be in a separate brain. I use this feature quite often. Sometimes I'm sharing brains with other users, and I don't want them to have my, finance information, or I don't want them to have information about other customers that I'm working with, only this one customer that they're interested in. You can copy portions of a large brain and paste them into smaller topic-specific brains. Likewise, we can merge brains together as well. So I'll share both of these features with you. Let's say this hobbies brain, again, it's going to become its entirely new, different brain. So I'm going to control click on hobbies. And rather than going down through each thought, once again, this is a test brain, so there's not a lot of sub thoughts or substructure underneath these thoughts. There was under technology. I've got some child thoughts there. So let's make sure we capture hobbies and everything under hobbies for 5 or 6 generations away. In fact, I'll just make sure that we do that. Computers, let's say I'm looking at local shops and laptops versus desktop. And the laptop that I'm really interested is an Asus. Republic of Gamers Asus. Not going to be an affordable computer for my needs, but it's a really cool one. So there we go. I created a few extra generations away, as you can see. So now I've just got hobbies in my selection box. And of course, let me point out, when I had that hobbies thought selected, I could still go back into the brain and manipulate it, add new thoughts, delete content without changing what I've selected. So if you're being very meticulous about which thoughts you want to copy into your new brain, or which thoughts you want to delete, or what have you, you can continue to navigate through the brain, and it's only when you control click will you be adding, control click, will you be adding a new thought into the selection box. But I'm even going to speed that process up. I've selected hobbies, and now I go up to thought, and I select the option to, or no, maybe it's under edit, sorry, edit, select related thoughts. So hobbies is the active thought that's been selected. I'm going to select related thoughts to hobbies. So we'll say 7 generations away. I think that should cover it. Only childward thoughts. I don't want to get parent thoughts because then I'd be capturing personal life and its child thoughts and so forth. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So only childward thoughts from hobbies for 7 generations down. I don't think I have any thought types or tags in this area of the brain, so I don't think I have to check that. Oh, I do have some tags. So I'll select tags and say, okay. Everything that is 7 generations below hobbies has been added here into my selection box. I can now right click and copy these thoughts. So I'm going to copy these 17 thoughts, and I'm going to create a new brain. So file, new brain. Oops, click on the button there. New Brain is the name of my new brain. And the brain always randomly selects one of the different themes or wallpapers. So there it's selected purple prints. I'm gonna go for the still the light blue. And I right click in the background and paste these 17 thoughts. So I've grabbed a section of my master brain, pasted that here into this topic specific brain. So all of my hobbies, there's the different categories. I've got icons. I'll have my thought types and tags. So you can see under computers, low cost and urgent is what I'm looking for. Multiple generations down below that computer's thought, all copied onto my clipboard and pasted here into this area of my brain. So a really, really great feature if you're looking to break up a very large brain you've created into smaller brains that you either want to share or archive. So let's say I just wanted to save this brain as it existed at this point in time, this area of the brain. I can click on File and back up to Brain Archive. So I back this brain up as its own unique BRZ. I think I saved that on the desktop. Yep, there it is. So here on my desktop, I'll need to click and drag from another monitor. There it is, my BRZ. So I've backed this brain up into a single file. So I can archive that for all time. So I can always refer back to what my hobbies were back in 2021. Now, a couple more features that I want to share with you before we start going into QA. First is merging two brains together. And I've actually just completed step one of that process. And that is to make a BRZ. When you make a BRZ, you're zipping a brain up into a single file that can be then imported into another brain. So I'm going to create yet another brain. I'll say File. No, I should do this, import this into an existing brain. I think I've got a test brain. We'll use this. And yeah, this is a test brain that I create for my Brain 101 class. Under personal, I'll create hobby import. So I'm going to merge an entire brain. It's that smaller brain that I just created, the new brain. But still, I go to this particular area, I'll click on File, I go to the thought where I want my new brain connected, File, Import, and I'm going to import a BRZ. And so that is how you can merge two brains together. You've got brain A, brain B, make brain B into a brain zip and import it into brain A. So I've opened the brain, I've gone to the thought where I want the import to be connected, select the file, and it is on my desktop. New brain is what it's called. I'll say open. And it gave me a little warning message there because I had the wrong radio button selected. Rather than creating a new brain, that brain already exists. I'm adding to this existing brain and linking it to hobby import. So I say import, confirm, and there it is. There's new brain, all the hobbies, all the content imported right into this area. And that, of course, brings me to my next topic, is a little bit more about importing. Importing is a great way to get existing data into your brain. It has to be properly formatted. Now, I share in my Brain 101 classes all about using the semicolon to import. And sometimes I mention talking about tab delineated lists or properly formatted Excel spreadsheets. Now's the time to share with you exactly how that works. And I'm going to do that with an Excel spreadsheet. So I've got this thought called woodworking. No content yet. All of the content that I've been working on for my woodworking research has been done in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to open that now. I thought I had it open, so I'll open Excel. And there it is, wood research. Sorry, let me get this onto the correct monitor so we're all on the same page. So here is my wood research document that I've put together. And this is what a properly formatted Excel spreadsheet looks like. Notice everything is one cell down and one cell over. So that's a subcategory. Under wood species, I'll have hardwoods. And in that same column, I'll have another child thought, called softwoods, and that's all the content under softwoods. Also, pay special attention under oak. There's red oak and white oak. And I've got the different qualities that I like about using red oak for furniture or using white oak. It fumes well. Fuming is an old technique that a lot of people don't use anymore because it's dangerous. You basically put your furniture in an airtight container and fill it with ammonia. So very dangerous, but it has a nice effect on white oak. And here you can see my different notes. So I'm not only creating a thought underneath hardwood, underneath oak, white oak, it fumes well. There's a pipe symbol, interesting. That's where I'm adding a label to the thought. These little dashes here, it's actually a space and then a dash in an Excel spreadsheet. That is adding a note to that thought. And the plus sign is adding an actual web page. So how to safely fume your furniture, I found interesting. So that went in. So just keep an eye on that structure and you'll see what the outcome is like here in just a moment. I'm gonna just Control A, so I select everything and right click on the background and copy. Now I could go File, Import and import it that way. Excel spreadsheets though, it's easier just to copy onto your clipboard. And under the woodworking thought, I'll right click and paste text outline as thoughts. So wood species, that was the very first cell, 1A in my Excel spreadsheet. Hardwoods and softwoods. Let's go down into that oak category. So white oak, it fumes well, one of its qualities. Here's my notes on fuming. There's my web page attachment. And you can see when I hover, I think that that's an interesting process for treatment of white oak furniture. So a couple of specialty icons or symbols, I guess you should say, in a properly formatted Excel spreadsheet, and you can really populate areas of your brain very, very quickly. Obviously, I don't have time today to share with you all of the different import capabilities, but that's just one of them. A very popular one. We hear from people quite often of importing, data that they brought out of a SQL database or some other data structure into Excel, properly formatted it, imported it right into the brain. And then finally, my brain is syncing, as you can see in the background. So I'm going to have access to this brain from the cloud, from multiple devices. I don't think we're going to get into the details of that today. We usually talk about syncing in our Brain 101 class, but let us know if you have any specific questions about brain syncing. And the final component that I want to share with you is a little bit more about that selection box. I'm going to go back to, whoops, hardwoods. Let's just click back up through this brain, woodworking, and under hobbies. I'm going to Control click once again and share with you a couple of different ways that you can share your brain with other brain users. We talk often in 101 about syncing your brain and sending folks the URL for that brain so they can see your brain online. From time to time, it's necessary to include some type of structure that you've worked on in an outline of a document. Maybe it's a proposal for a project that you're working on, and they need just a stack of paper sitting in front of them that outlines your procedure or your project. So I've added hobbies into my selection box, and once again, really quickly, I'm going to click on Edit, and I am going to select related thoughts. So I'm just going childward, so below. Now we'll go, 16 generations down and say okay. I've added all of this into my selection box, quite a bit of content there because I also imported that wood information into this area of my brain. So I've got a lot more thoughts, 47 thoughts. I'm going to right click on the background. We talked earlier about copying these 47 thoughts. We've talked today about changing in mass. We can change thought types for selected thoughts or unlink them under one area, relink them in a new area. Now I just want to share two more features with you. You can copy as a text outline. So if I need to submit, in this case, it's my hobbies, but let's say it's a very important project that I'm working on for an architectural firm and I need to submit this to my client or to my boss. I can copy as a text outline with or without notes. I'll just grab the structure of the thoughts themselves, and I am going to open just a notepad document, right click and paste. And notice that I've captured all of my thought names. I've retained their hierarchical structure, and I've pasted that here into a text-based document. So I can share this as, with someone that doesn't use the brain. Here's an outline of the project that I'm working on, of the book that I'm writing, or the class that I'm taking. So a very, very user-friendly way to get an outline of a brain structure. Now, of course, a text document can't capture the same structure in a brain, such as multiple parent thoughts or jump thoughts as opposed to child thoughts and so forth. That's very hard to display on a flat piece of paper. You will see duplicate thoughts. They'll show up with a pound sign in front of them. I don't think I have any multiple cross links or duplicates here, but those will show up for you. You just have to know what they mean when you see a pound sign in front of a thought. And then the final component, I think actually, let me go back to my very first brain I created here, or we were creating today. I have a couple of thoughts that I created under food, so health and fitness. And I've got my favorite family recipes. Let's get back to our notes over here. Whoops, let me give this a little more screen real estate. So you can see in my notes for this thought, I've got my favorite recipes. And under family recipes, I've got a note there, mom's lasagna. Now I kept this basic just so I wouldn't clutter up the notes. But my family recipes are my favorite recipes. I wouldn't be hanging on to them if it was a family recipe that I thought was disgusting. So these two thoughts are sort of one and the same, families and recipes, favorite recipes. I want to merge these two thoughts together. This is a new feature that's available in the Brain 10, and it's done by control clicking on two thoughts. I can run a report to find, if I go to reports, to find similarly named thoughts. If I've accidentally created two woodworking thoughts and I've got notes on both, that's a good example of when you would want to start merging thoughts together. In this example, they're just closely related. Favorite recipes, family recipes, same thing. Let's merge them. So I've added these two thoughts into my selection box. I right click and I simply select merge two thoughts. You can merge 10 thoughts, you can merge 20, you can merge 100 thoughts. But it's going to merge these two thoughts together. And as you can see, the thought name is now family recipes, favorite recipes. So it's up to me to decide how I want to rename this. I'm just going to call it family favorites. So I renamed the thought, and I've got notes from both. So my mom's lasagna, if I had the full recipe, it's still there. My list of favorite recipes that I really like is still there. A really, really great new feature in the Brain 12, merging thoughts. And just another way to, again, review your existing data and start bringing it together, cleaning it up so that your brain over the stretch of time becomes and stays very, very useful and helpful information. Now, I've shared a lot with you today as far as rearranging groups of thoughts, applying thought types and thought tags, even taking sections of a brain and segmenting them out into smaller brains or merging them together. So a lot of information today on how you can go through and do some spring gardening in your brain. Now's the time, Chase. I'll open it up for questions. Any specific questions about features of the brain that you wanted to know more about? Chase, go ahead and let me know.
Awesome. First question is going to be, can you quickly demonstrate how one-way links work?
Yes, a one-way link is a really great way to see a thought from one direction but not another. So for example, I'll just use family and friends, and let's say Chase. Let's say Chase also falls under the category of woodworking. So Chase does woodworking as well. Now, when I'm on Chase's thought, Chase is a coworker. When I'm on Chase's thought, I need to know his phone number, his Twitter feed, his Instagram. Maybe we've got meeting notes down below and projects that we're working on together and so forth. So that's really important information to me. But I don't necessarily need to know that Chase is a fellow woodworker. However, when I'm on my woodworking thought, now this is the woodworking thought, let's see, under hobbies. There we go. So I've linked that up to hobbies. So regardless, this is, oh, I already had that woodworking thought here. I'm confusing myself. I'm gonna link Chase to this and right click. Oh, I created a new woodworking thought, didn't I? I'm gonna forget that woodworking thought. So there we go. I've linked him to the existing woodworking thought. That was the mistake I made. So see, mistakes happen, and now I knew how to forget a thought and relink it. When I'm on the woodworking thought, I do want to be reminded if I've got a question about how a miter saw works, or some piece of machinery that I'm not comfortable with. Oh, maybe I can give Chase a call. So I can get there very easily from the woodworking thought. But again, from Chase, I don't need to know that he's a woodworker. So I'm going to click on the link between woodworking and Chase. I double clicked actually to open up the thought properties, and I'm going to change this to a one-way link. So I can either make this directional, it'll always show up, but it'll just simply give me a little arrow. Woodworking, I can always rely on or contact Chase, or if I change the arrow the other way, Chase is an expert at woodworking, something like that. In this case, I just want a directional link. So therefore, let me just sort of reset the scene. Family and friends, I've got a business proposal with a new client coming up. I need to call Chase. I go to the Chase thought and I've got his phone number, meeting notes, and so forth, but I'm not seeing that link to woodworking. However, if I go over into my personal life and down into my hobbies, and I'm thinking about doing some new woodworking with a router, and I don't know how routers work, I'm gonna call Chase. So I can still get to that thought. That's a one-way link. Notice woodworking stays, since I came from woodworking, and you may have seen that earlier, it stays on the screen since I came from that direction. But if I come directly from family and friends into Chase, then that link isn't there. So that's a one-way link. And in very rare circumstances, I use that feature. I know some people that use that feature a lot. They want to be very specific in the information they see in regards to the path they choose to get there in your brain.
Great. And next question here is, how do you add items from BrainBox to something in your brain?
Oh, great. So yes, BrainBox, something I didn't even get a chance to really talk about today. BrainBox is a really, really great way to get info into the brain, but you don't know where it's going to go yet. You don't have a home for that particular thought. Or maybe it's just inconvenient for you to link it up into your brain right now. So as an example, I'm just going to go out and let's start with documents. You can add files and documents. You can add web pages into your BrainBox. Project details. This is that project I'm going to be working on with Chase. I don't have the brain open right now, or I do have the brain open. I'm logged in because your operating system needs to know what account to send that particular file or web page to. So my brain is open. I'm logged in, but I just don't have it in front of me, or maybe I'm in a different brain database. I'm just going to right click, send to BrainBox. So there's my project details. It's in my BrainBox. I'm going to take care of it later. I've also got a web page. So I'm doing some web research, and I found this website that I really, really like. And I want to talk about this with Chase. Can we add this into our space brain that we're creating together? Once again, that brain isn't open. I don't have time to get there right now, but I'm never going to remember this stars.chromeexperiments.com. My organic brain doesn't have room for that. So I've got this little icon right here, and that is the BrainBox. Oh gosh, what's it called? Some of them call them bookmarklets. It's an extension in Chrome. So if you go to the Chrome extension page and look for BrainBox, you'll find it that way. There's also a link on our website. If you just do a search on our website for BrainBox, it'll tell you how to add the proper extension or bookmarklet to the browser you use. So there it is. I'm going to click And of course, it wants me to log in. I'm not logged in yet. Notice, or if you recall earlier, I mentioned you have to be logged in so that BrainBox knows what account to send this particular file to. So now let's go ahead and reopen the brain. So now I've got some time to go in and chase. Oh, there's a project that I sent into BrainBox. I'm going to click on the BrainBox icon. And notice right there at the top, there's that project details document, and there's the 100,000 stars website. So this is going to be a new child thought. So create child, and it's removed from BrainBox, and it's now a child thought under the chase thought, which is exactly where I want this. If this is also where I wanted the link to this 1,000 stars, again, I'll click on the plus there too. So the plus creates a new child thought. The paperclip attaches to the existing thought, but you can navigate around, find the home for that content. I heard someone one time call BrainBox the junk drawer, which is hilarious to me because my mother had a junk drawer in the kitchen, and it was where stuff goes, but she doesn't know where it goes yet. And so there was just a junk drawer where you could find scissors or tape or beach balls, deflated beach balls, whatever, weird stuff. And so this is I hate to use the equivalent junk drawer, but it's, you don't know where it's going to go yet. And you can see I've got all kinds of cooking and recipe, things that I find when I'm browsing online. I often send something to my BrainBox from my phone. Then when I log in, I'll be reminded, or I go through and review from time to time all these items in my BrainBox, and I find, a home for them or where they want to go. I like getting there from the little BrainBox icon in the application on the desktop. You can also click this little context menu and open BrainBox in its own tab. I know a lot of users that like to do that, and that way you can even click to review, and it'll load up in the content area, that particular web page or that particular item that you're reviewing. And when you find something that you really, really like, you can then once again add it to the corresponding thought. There we go. So I say, okay, that is going to be added underneath hobbies. That's another way to bring it, drag and drop from that open window, separate window or separate tab into the brain. And there I just dropped in that thought. Great. And Chase, we're over the hour, but I think we've got time for one or two more questions if we've got them.
Awesome. Alan would like to know if you can quickly demonstrate hidden ordering for us.
Oh, yes. Hidden ordering is a really great way to, I always think of it in context of a business brain, projects that I'm working on. So let's go back to my Chase thought. Chase and I are working on this really, really important project, and we'll call it Project, if I can spell today, Project X. And there's a whole process. We're just starting out this great new business plan together. The very first thing we need to do is secure financing. Then we need to talk about partners. Then we need to look into hiring. Then we need to find a space. So it has to flow. It has to follow a specific order. But if I just create a thought for finance, and then we're going to have our Zoom meetings with new clients, Zoom with clients, and then we're going to find a business space. Things are quickly out of order. It looks like we're about to first find a business space, then see if we have finance, and then Zoom with our clients. And that's not the order at all. So there's a number of things we can do. It's alphabetical. By thought type. I don't have thought type, so it resorts back to being alphabetical or thoughts by name. Now, if I just add step 1, step 2, step 3, that would make them in alphabetical order. 1, I overwrote that. I think it was called business space. Oh, but that wouldn't be 1. That's step 3. Step 1 is to secure financing. So I'm just clicking to quickly open up the thought properties and adding this content. So now they're going to start falling in order. Step one, this will be step two, step three, but I don't want to see those digits. And also thinking ahead, and this is a little trick that I always like to share with people, you might think of an additional step somewhere along the way. Maybe I haven't had this, the step one is to decide what our business model is. So then I would have to reorder everything behind one, and that would be a pain in the neck. So I don't want to see the numbers. I want to be able to add new things in at any time. I'm going to use the hidden ordering system. So finance isn't going to be step one. I'm going to put the period first, or the dot first. So I'm going to say dot 5 finance. For business space, I'm counting in tens, or in fives rather. So this is dot 15 is our business space. Step 2 was Zoom, so that's going to be 2 times 5 is 10, so dot 10. I like to go in integers of 5, 5, 10, 15, 20, so it can weave other steps in along the way. I've spoken with people that go in integers of 10, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, so they can come back and say, all right, whoa, in between 20 and 30 is 25, 26, and 27. They can weave in multiple different steps. But as you can see, the hidden ordering system does not show up. Step 1 is finance. Step 2 is Zoom with clients. Step 3 is get that business space. But let's say we need to finalize our motto. So that is step dot 3. I'll have that come before 5. What is our mission? So that's the first step. So the project Chase and I are working on, first we're going to determine our mission. Number 2, decide if we've got enough money to launch. Number 3, talk to a few clients that might want to come on board. And number 4, get a brick and mortar building and go to work. That is the hidden ordering system. Doesn't display when you're looking at the thought, will only show up if I alt click or open up the thought properties display. I've got the numbers that I can change. And it's just a really good tip to count by 5s, count by 10s, so you can weave those forgotten thoughts that come in later on down the road, weave them into your existing network of thoughts. And Chase, I think we've got time for one more question if we've got one outstanding.
Sure. Is there a way to change the overall look of your brains?
Oh, absolutely. And a great way to wrap things up today. I always remind users that the brain application itself is a reflection, a digital reflection of your own organic brain. No two brains think alike. That's why we give you plenty of choices as far as when something should be a thought type, a thought tag, how you want that content attached to a thought, whether it's a shortcut, a link, an internal attachment. And of course, the personality of the brain itself. If you look at my list of available brains, you can see that each individual one pretty much has its own unique wallpaper. The brain will pick up the wallpaper that you're using for that particular brain, or you can customize these images. If you've got a lot of different brains, you can actually click on the context menu and you can set a brain icon. So customize the thumbnail. As you see, I've done that for my Shakespeare brain. It doesn't say Shakespeare brain on it. It just has a picture of him. That's a customizable icon. So that's the first step that you can take. The brain that I created today, one brain for it all. That's the one brain for it all that I'm working on. So I'm going to click and I'm going to set a brain icon and just go into my C drive, wallpaper, and let's say I want this clouds. Let me get back to it. There it is. There's my clouds brain. Got more than one brain. You can identify, this brain is about cars, this brain is about tools, this brain is about work, and so forth. The brain that I just created today, this one brain for it all, is this cloud brain, so I can click and open it that way. And then once it's open, I can change the background and the color code, and even how all of the notes appear, the font, the background, all highly adjustable. So I'll right click in the background and select to open the brain theme. We've got many different brain themes. I've got a cloud thumbnail for this brain. So maybe I want something kind of funky or more natural. You can really play around with all the different built-in themes, or you can customize your own. I'll go into, maybe I want that same cloud thumbnail wallpaper. I'll click on options, select my clouds wallpaper. Oh, that looks kind of nice. So that's going to be the wallpaper for this particular brain. And if I don't like the color code of the links and so forth, I'll go back to colors and I say, all right, all of my links should be, there they are. Links are yellow. I want my links to be blue, green, maybe orange. That looks cool. So there we go. I've got a nice sort of orange and brown theme going on. And some things work, some things don't. I'll then look and, oh, now the dark green that I chose earlier for my coworker thought type, it's a little bit hard to see. So I can go back and change that thought type. And that's a universal setting. That's the last thing I'll do. I'll say, all right, all my coworkers, instead of being in dark green, are going to be in light green. So I can really see that show up. Yeah, that looks nice. So definitely play around with that. You can then save your themes. I can go into my options and preferences, or excuse me, brain theme. On a Mac machine, it would be TheBrain brain theme. And you can save this theme. So I'm going to save this and call this Clouds. Clouds 2021. I like it. So definitely play around with all those settings to get the look and feel that works for you. For the notes themselves, I call them our little Mr. Pringles guy, our notes style. You can click, and if I want a corresponding, and of course, all, once again, highly adjustable. I'll go down into the dark area, the nocturne. Ooh, I like that. I'll say save, and you can see I'm really quickly changing the look and feel of this brain. So definitely play around with those and find, whatever reflects the subject matter of the brain or your own personality. And with that, I want to thank everyone for joining me today. It's always a pleasure to introduce people to the brain. Typically, I'm doing that in my 101s. I'm so happy to see so many people that have taken their sort of brain experience to the next level and joined today's 202. Again, today's webinar was recorded. If you want to roll back and watch this at your own pace, you can certainly do that. And you can also contact us at support@thebrain.com. We're always happy to answer any additional questions that you may have. So thanks everyone for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your week. And as always, enjoy your brain.